The news of Fernando Alonso signing a contract with Aston Martin seems to have reawoken the silly season in a massive way. It seemed to be the paddock's worst-kept secret that something big was on the horizon, with the likes of Sergio Perez saying April would be a busy month and Carlos Sainz urging his suitors to hurry up and get on with it. In a sport where only 20 seats are available, another one being tied down is huge, and a seat at a team that is firmly in the top half of the grid is more so huge, as it now gives the remaining big hitters that are out of contract two options: take a punt on a team lower down and pray that they can perform miracles, or enter a seat with a failing team who are suffering an identity crisis who won't want you there for long. Stick around, because today we're discussing the ramification of Fernando Alonso's contract, especially on Carlos Sainz. What must he be thinking right now? So let's start off with the news that set all of this in motion. Fernando Alonso's new contract until 2026 with Aston Martin was announced on Friday, and it was in equal measures expected and outrageous. Not only does this mean that Fernando deemed the projects of other teams, most notably the down-and-out Mercedes, unworthy of his precious remaining time in the sport, but it also means that the oldest and most experienced head in the sport sees Aston Martin as having the greatest potential outside of the locked-out Ferrari, McLaren, and, as long as Checo doesn't implode, Red Bull seats. Aston Martin have clearly taken a massive step forward both on and off track, with their impressive first half of last season being matched with an impressive facility overhaul for the Silverstone team, marking them as a team with a massive potential to leap up the standings as the season goes on. But clearly there's an elephant in the room that needs addressing, as the last time that Fernando Alonso worked with the team's imminent engine supplier, Honda, well, let's just say things didn't end too well, with remarks about the Japanese automaker providing an already in-the-mud McLaren with a GP2 engine. Fernando didn't exactly depart on the best of terms. However, since the horror show of 2015 to 2017, relations have been smoothed over, and it even turns out that Honda president Koji Watanabe may have even had an influence on the team's pursuit to retain Alonso moving forward. According to Watanabe, all the past grudges are water under the bridge, as he said, "When I worked with him from 2015 to 2017, it was a very difficult situation for both Honda and the team. It was a particularly frustrating period in our history, and there were times where our relationship was strained. But I think we have become stronger because we overcame that frustration. Alonso has also been very active since then. I'm glad that we can overcome that painful experience together and fight together for victory once again. I hope that we can aim for the championship together and win together." Watanabe would go on to discuss the talks that occurred between Mike Crack and Honda regarding the driver lineup, and according to the Honda president, the bygones didn't matter, just that the future involved the highest chance of winning as a partnership. "We had many conversations with Aston Martin regarding our partnership starting in 2026. During that time, we exchanged opinions about drivers too, and we shared an understanding between us and Aston Martin that Alonso was definitely a top-class driver. Aston Martin asked us if there would be any problems from Honda if they extended Alonso's contract. The situation was shared at various stages, but Honda did not want to make any requests regarding this matter. In any case, we should naturally discuss what kind of driver lineup we need to win, and it was in this context that the team decided to extend Alonso's contract. The fact that Honda were okay to go with the guy responsible for the most image-damaging one-liner in automotive history over Yuki Tsunoda, a Honda Works driver let's not forget, is pretty damning, isn't it? The main driver who will be massively affected by the news of Alonso's contract is Carlos Sainz, a driver whose hopes of a top-half drive seems to be diminishing with every passing day. It's been rumored up until Alonso's pen met paper that Aston were aiming for a Spanish switch-up should Alonso decide to move on for the team. But with the door thoroughly shut, it would appear that Sainz now faces incredibly thin pickings. One option, and the new rumor du jour, is Sainz and Mercedes' desperation will draw the two parties together in a deal of convenience. Mercedes will offer Sainz his last realistic shot at a top-half drive, however comes with the drawback of the team's current identity crisis. Stuck in limbo between believing there is pace but ultimately not seeing it, Mercedes is sinking at the moment. However, it may not be completely doom and gloom for Sainz if he has to go down the Mercedes route. The main perpetrators of this new rumor is Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy, who claimed Sainz was the man that Mercedes had settled on following Alonso not being convinced of their potential to bounce back, and if their premonitions come to pass, then Sainz's arrival at Brackley will have some pretty big ramifications. The first is for the Mercedes prodigy Andrea Kimi Antonelli, as Mercedes will supposedly be slapping a 1+1 deal down on the table for Sainz, with the Spanish driver pushing for the contract to be a firm 2-year deal in an attempt to not get blindsided by yet another team screwing him over. Given Mercedes' reluctance to grant Hamilton a contract that'd end at the same time, this would come as quite a shock. However, a sudden switch in tone by Mercedes may be down to one of two things. 1. Mercedes aren't convinced that Antonelli will be ready to step up by the end of this year or at the end of next year, and are willing to give the drivers the time he needs to develop. While glimpses have been seen of the young Italian's potential, skipping F3 is a pretty big risk, and will require the prodigal son to take his time in getting to grips with the car, procedures, and general feel of the upper echelons of single-seater motorsport. The other reason could be down to Mercedes realizing that Sainz is just too good of an opportunity to let slip. Having already won a race so far this season, and making his desires for a stable few years clear, Sainz holds more of the bargaining power at the table. With the currently crash-happy George Russell being set to head the team, Carlos may bring the stability and experience to the team that is currently set to exit with Lewis Hamilton. The other option for Sainz would also come with the free clown nose, as it would be giving in to Audi's requests that he join the team. The only reasons this would make sense in our opinion would be Audi offering Sainz a long-term and lucrative deal as their flagship driver, or Sainz huffing glue in the Portaloos around the race circuits. Audi are not a competitive prospect, with rumours of an absolute clown fiesta behind the scenes and a brain rot setting in due to the lack of engineering talent joining the team. Hell, even the man known for having clown noses photoshopped onto him, Mattia Binotto, turned down the team calling it a clown operation. And hey, if anyone knows clown operations, it's Mattia Binotto and Ferrari strategy team. Every other week there are rumours of yet another crisis behind the scenes, with even the guy that heralded the scheme in the first place leaving the company before the project even sees the light of day. So the only thing the team can offer Sainz is a long-term seat, perhaps due to nobody else talented enough wanting it. Gazzetta dello Sport are often quite reliable as a source, especially concerning stories relating to current, inbound or exiting Ferrari drivers. And of the two paths set out before Sainz, Mercedes, despite all of their current flaws, provides the stablest option. For all we know, Antonelli could fall short of expectations and not challenge for F2 titles anytime soon, or potentially Sainz could be of such value to the team that Antonelli could follow George Russell's path of being sent to the Williams Shadow Realm. So as much as future at Mercedes seems to be short-term at the moment, it doesn't mean it will stay that way as the remaining years pre-regulation change unfold. If he does enough of a job to remain at Brackley post-2025, then Sainz may even get to experience the might of Brixworth moving into the new engine regulations, as it was ultimately the dawn of the new engine regulations that heralded the golden age of Mercedes F1. Given that Lewis Hamilton's last win was 3 years ago now, and since then Russell and Sainz have garnered 4 between them, a number that would be multiplied by 4 with Sainz's arrival at the team, then Mercedes could come out of this with an all-round upgrade to their driver lineup, while Ferrari are lumped with a driver in the twilight of their career and a golden boy with as much killer instinct as an RSPCA volunteer. However, here at F1 Fanatics, we are fans of adorning our tinfoil and laying out some pretty ludicrous predictions, so get your hats on and strap in for a doozy. Andretti buyouts Alpine. Sainz joins Andretti as an experienced flagship driver to partner their American prospect, most likely Colton Herta, and we are blessed with images of Carlos Sainz with an American eagle in front of an American flag. Sainz wins at home for the team and the scenes are absolutely biblical. Now that would be the dream, I think you'd agree.